district for House of Representatives. And I just want to touch base a little bit on the ordinance and the way that it was written up. You guys had proposed that nobody under the age of 18 can use medical marijuana in the township. And I just want to say, my son, when he was 9 years old, he got his medical marijuana card, and it changed his life. It saved his life. He was going to be removed from my home because he was so violent and aggressive. I had ribs out of place, black eyes, and a plant medicine changed his whole world. I mean, he's no longer cognitively impaired. His IQ has increased. I don't have bruises and welts, and he is functioning as a regular 15-year-old. I've been medicating him for 4 years, and I am his caregiver. So please, take this stuff into consideration. The attorney that's working on this kind of did the same thing in Arbella Township, so I'm very surprised that he'd even put it in your ordinance. It's offensive to the pediatric patients and their families in the state of Michigan. Thank you.
And patient here in our great state of Michigan since 2015. Back in 2013, I was diagnosed with bulging discs at the age of only 27. Seeing what painkillers have done to the population, I explored alternative methods of pain relief, with cannabis by far being the best thing to ever happen to me. Cannabis allows me to take part in things I often cannot. It relieves the pain instantly, and coupled with CBD, reduces inflammation so I can do basic things like plant flowers in the springtime, go for a bike ride in the summer, and with caution, clear the snow off my front steps without being laid up for 3 days afterward. Dispensaries and provisioning center cannabis is not the same as growing your own or having a caregiver. It is impossible to replicate the care and quality you get from a caregiver at the commercial level. It just isn't there yet, guys. Remember, we are still in a over 100-year propaganda-fueled prohibition of cannabis at a federal level. The technology and knowledge it would take to produce such high-quality supplements in mass quantities does not yet exist, which is one of the many reasons why it is so important to keep this very precious caregiver system intact. I cannot afford to buy low-quality, high-priced cannabis. It doesn't work like caregiver product does. It can't. A caregiver can seek out and grow strains that are known to have specific effects that would alleviate the patient's malady the best. That simply cannot happen at the commercial level. I'm not here to tell you how to run your township or tell you what to do. This is your town, which should embody your values. But this is my state and a cannabis system that I personally rely on for my health, well-being, and overall quality of life. So please do not take offense to the passion that you see here today. This is coming from a place of love and also a place of hope. Our caregiver system is a rare and cherished voter-approved system that has ceased suffering for chronic and terminal illness for tens of thousands of Michiganders. There are people who have moved to Michigan from other states so they could grow for their sick loved ones. If the consequences for you were the same as you intend them to be for us, I bet you would be standing up here and fighting like hell too. Thank you.
He should be removed from your board immediately. He was voted in here by the people. That is a dictatorship, same as Putin, same as Hitler. He can look at me when I'm talking to you. Show some respect.
Talk to me, please.
Okay, well, then have your guys watch me and don't look away, because that's just what he did was wrong. We are people here. It is our right. It's not his right. He was voted in to do work as a committee, not his own personal agenda. And by flipping us off, that's his personal agenda. He should be removed immediately from this board. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Joe.
Thank you.
Hi, how you doing? Tricia Matson. I am here with the Michigan Weed Search. We're a group of individuals who support, lobby, and help patients and caregivers in the state of Michigan. We go to these meetings quite often to speak about issues that, coming up in municipalities. You pretty much get a lot of information from everybody else, but I have something new for you. So one of the things that happens with your ordinance, it actually applies a lot of fees and funds and things like that, which is nice for revenue, and I think that's a great thing too. Now, I used to work in Birch Run. I've been here for about a year and a half, and I had to study your market. And one of the things that I have noticed about it, because of the brick and mortar stores and of course all of the e-commerce and things like that, we've lost a lot of business, correct? So my thought is, instead of taking money from patients and caregivers, you guys can get a bigger chunk of the pie. Right now, you do have at least enough perimeter around the area right now. If you didn't want cannabis in here, at least you put them on each end of your county or your municipality. And why is that important? The state of Michigan is giving every municipality and county a certain amount of tax revenue for the opportunity to opt in to be able to have. You can put a cap on it if you want to. There's also a privilege if you have patients here. So it'd actually be a good idea to actually encourage people to be here and be patients and caregivers, because your municipality will also get $27.50 per caregiver as well. So this could possibly bring in $300,000-$400,000 in revenue, and then you don't have to have the police, and you don't have to worry about bugging the people that are in your area, because recreational is here. Regardless if you have medical or not, you could put rules on medical, but you can't do it on recreational. So at this point, if you guys need money, I have a package for you, and I'd like to hand it to you if you don't mind, and then you can look over it. It's all legal documents from the Michigan Regulatory Agency, and you can take a look and see, give it a gander, and see if it might help.
You all set?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'm sure it's coming from the higher ups. Look at a dispensary, you allow one or two of them in here, and then you put more applications, you don't have to refund that money, that's yours. You can rejuvenate your own, and if you do, on the right line of, if you get your new civic center that you're talking about, and building a bridge over the expressway and all that, you can have a tuck-in, where they come and they pay a lot of money, and you'll make the money off the revenues, either the parking lot, or at the door, or whatever. So there's a lot to it. But the bottom line of it is, it takes too long to go to a dispensary and change somebody's medicine. I can change your medicine within a half hour. So, and by the way, your hemp store down here is really awesome. I stopped in there the other day.
Concerned that Mr. Sheridan finds this a good way to communicate with the residents, his constituents. I'm trying to become a medical, get my medical card because I have fibromyalgia. I have idiopathic intracranial hypertension. Go ahead and look that up, any of you, and see how debilitating that is. I need to be able to have a caregiver in the community that is safe. Putting these ordinances in, actually move them out and restrict how many patients they can have. And I'm sorry that I'm shaky and all of this, but it pains me to see that you haven't talked to anybody here about this. You haven't asked the medical patients, you haven't asked the community, and you're just putting it out there and trying to push it through. I want to be talked to about this. This is my stuff that's being affected. This is my mother's. My family lives off of Elms Road. My aunt, who is dying, her daughters are there. They could all use this. Our community could use the money. The money from this could actually fix the old firehouse and turn that into a community center for events for our community. I just want us to be heard and treated with respect. There was no respect there with him flipping us off. None. I want this to be thought through. I don't want anything negative to happen to the patients, the caregivers, or our community. So please take the time and consideration to communicate with all of us here, because we're all affected, no matter whether we're residents here or outside, because these laws that are pushed in, you're trying to trump state laws and regulations, this is gonna cause heartache with lawsuits. It's gonna cause money to drain out of our community even more. We don't need our community to crash and burn, and this will help make it crash and burn. I want us to thrive. So please take this time to hear us and think about changing this. Thank you.
November of 2019, my 74-year-old mother-in-law was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. They told her that the tumor in one of her lungs was so large they couldn't believe she was standing in front of them breathing. We looked online and started looking into it, and some of the videos on there gave her some hope. My children were ready to say goodbye to their grandma. They gave her 3 months to live. They said if we gave her chemo, she might get an extra month. She was guaranteed that the tumor would not shrink. It would just stop growing if she went through with chemo. So we started the medical marijuana. In 6 months, her tumor was shrunk in half. Within 1 year, there was no tumor left whatsoever in her lung. Had we have gone to marijuana on the streets, it could have had mold, mildew, bugs. There could have been so many things that would have made her lungs weaken even more and possibly not being able to be healed. She was 74 years old. There's no way she could have moved from the location that she's been living in for most of her life. She couldn't afford five acres or more. She couldn't afford any of that. We couldn't put her, the possibility of her life being in danger by letting everybody know where she lived. She was too weak and too frail to defend herself if anybody had tried to come to take her plants away from her. Now it's been a year. She has no tumor whatsoever. She has a whole new outlook on life. She couldn't afford to also buy the medical marijuana. If we hadn't been able to do it ourselves, there's no way she would be dead to this day. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you.